So originally I was planning this video to be about this giant FPV drone, and it's a Cinelifter, so basically you could take something like a Red Komodo Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, a Sony mirrorless camera, and fly it super fast. But I just plugged it in and I saw a bunch of smoke coming out, and now I have to contact customer service. But instead, let's talk about our smallest FPV drones. The tiny FPVs might actually be my favorite because of the really cool shots you can get. I'm sure you've seen some on Instagram. And we already made a few videos with Robert McIntosh, who is the OG of flying through small spaces. But since then, things have actually gotten a whole lot easier. So now you can just buy it, turn it on, pair it, you're good to go. And it's also crazy to see how powerful and acrobatic these little tiny FPV drones have become now. So let's talk about some of my favorites, but I actually haven't flown in probably 3 or 4 months. We've been super busy ever since the move, and we've been renovating the house and all. So I literally have not touched one of these in 3 or 4 months. So hopefully I still know how to fly. Let's find out. All right, it's all coming back to me. FPV is one of those things that you learn it once and you kinda can remember. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. I'm sure there's some sort of opening in this tree here. Let me see if I can hit that. Oh, all right, so, hey, I'm still alive, yeah. You're probably sick of looking at this crappy image quality, so let me go ahead and throw a better camera on there. You know, honestly, I thought it was gonna take me longer to warm back up, but I feel like that wasn't so bad. I'm gonna go ahead and attach this camera onto here. So the footage you were watching was recorded onto my goggles, so it's actually what I personally see when I'm flying, but by attaching the Go 2 right next to it, you can end up with much better picture quality. Here's my problem with FPV, is that the more I think about it and the more worried and nervous I am, the worse of a pilot I am. So the goal is to think, okay, be careful, but at the same time, don't be too nervous. This is really starting to remind me how much fun this really is. I mean, I got into it so I could get those cool cinematic shots, but now I just fly because it's a lot of fun. I could just do this all day. The one I'm flying right now is called the Gep RC Phantom HD. And I love this thing because of how powerful and acrobatic it is, but it's obviously tiny. It's also very quiet. So if you're in a busy place, this thing won't bother everybody. And this is also HD, so it works with my DJI goggles. This comes pretty much built and set up, ready to go. You just gotta attach the propellers, find it. Just to give you an idea of size, this is the FPV drone we built with Robert McIntosh. It's a Cinewhoop, so remember there's more of the acrobatic FPV drones like this one, and then there's Cinewhoops, which typically have these guard rails so you can fly it closer to things without having to worry about scratching it. So that is the one downside of this Gep RC, is if you clip a person, it'll probably cut him and it's probably not gonna be a good day. The other thing that is nice about this Phantom is that it does feel really lightweight. Like you can tell that it's not a heavy GoPro. It honestly holds up pretty well in the wind too. That was a big fall. A little bit of a problem. I lost the camera on here. This is actually a mount for the original Insta360 Go. Definitely go with the Go 2, but it's slightly bigger, so I cut it. I just put some rubber bands around it, and it worked till now. Dylan, you want to go on this treasure hunt with me?
Where are we going?
It must have crashed somewhere up there, so.
Right here.
What, you found it? Yeah. Dude, that was so fast. Where was it? Just right there?
Yeah, just right there.
All right, success. Dylan, you get a raise. Just kidding, you're not. All right, let's go ahead and step this up a little bit. This is the Emax Baby Hawk, which is powerful enough to carry a GoPro. This is the Hero 8. But just to shave a little bit of weight off, I pulled out the battery, and I'm actually gonna power this off of the balance cable on the battery. So let me go ahead and get this thing up in the air while we tell you about our sponsor, Epidemic Sound.
So yeah, this footage is cool and all, but you know what would make it even better is if I got paid more. But since that's not happening, it'd actually be music from Epidemic Sound, because they have high quality music. Not just your boring, elevator music that you kind of zone out when, you're trying to not pay attention to the fact that you gotta go to work, but the elevator's going up anyway. That's what makes Epidemic Sound so great. It's high quality, just like you want your life to be. They also have over 90,000 different sound effects, kind of like whoosh sounds and stuff like that. Kind of making your life sound better, like if you just wished your life was really just a video. I mean, mine kind of is, because I am in the video too. I'm just this kind of person on a screen. They have so many options, you'll always have everything you want. Just like a buffet with all the food before anyone gets there. Like if you got there at 6 a.m. when they're still setting up. Epidemic Sound also has a 30-day risk-free trial. So unlike standing at the edge of the cliff, there's really nothing to worry about it at all. So click the link below and get your dreams started today. Epidemic Sound makes everything epic, just like the letters in the word. Oh. and he crashed.
All right, got a little bit too confident itself. I usually like to do the dive and have it go really close to the ground, but a little bit too close to the ground. All right, we're still in business. That is one thing I do really like about the Baby Max, is that it is super durable. Now, before we get into talking about Cinewhooops, let me show you something really cool about Epidemic Sounds. They have these personal recommendations for my channel. It just kind of learns what I download and what I like to use. But also, my favorite feature about it, maybe it's a song that you like, but you've already used this song before, or it's not exactly what you're looking for, but it's close. Find similar right here. That's really cool. It gives you a nice fat playlist of songs that are similar to what I'm looking for, so you don't have to run the same songs over and over or go on a whole nother search once you get close. If you've edited videos before, you know how frustrating finding good music is. So 30-day completely risk-free trial, and let's say you uploaded something to your YouTube channel during that 30-day trial, it still has the rights, so you don't have to take down your videos or anything like that. Thanks again to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this episode. Links down there in the description, and let's go grab the Cinewhoop. Now, these Cinewhoops are obviously much better for flying close to people, but do not get it caught in somebody's hair. Carrie will testify to that.
Yes, please don't fly near people's hair. It really hurts.
You know, you would think that if you get it caught in someone's hair, you can just unwind it. No. Carrie was very graceful when we had to snip off some of her hair. So this is the iFly ProTech 25, and I want to say this is my favorite overall. If you were to ask me which one's the fastest or the smallest or best in wind, or it's going to be a different answer for every one of those. But I think iFly did a really good job giving us something that works really well just out of the box. It's tuned pretty well, and they make it very clear on how to set it up. So you just plug in a few things and it's up and running. So I love how easy iFlight makes it for people like me that don't know that much about FPV. I mean, every time I have to hook up something to Betaflight configurator and do the PID tuning, like I get a headache. So this is very good for people like me. Now, there's a newer version of this. It's the ProTech 25 pusher version, and that would probably be the one I would get if I was buying one right now. So overall, this thing is great because it's really easy to set up, get up in the air, start flying, and it can carry an Insta360 or a GoPro. It's just very flexible and just a solid little drone. But if we compare this to the Cinewhoop we built with Robert McIntosh, it is definitely a whole lot heavier. It's also taller, and it is a bit wider as well. So if you're trying to get through the tiniest of the tiny spaces, then you definitely want to go with something with a naked camera. A naked GoPro is basically a regular GoPro hacked apart with a voided warranty. You take out the battery, all the heat dissipating material, and stick it in this little enclosure. I still really like this thing, and there is instructions on how to set this thing up, but it does require more troubleshooting. I'll be flying and all of a sudden the camera will stop recording and I'm not sure why, or sometimes it just doesn't want to turn on when I expect it to. So it's just a little bit more of a headache, but if you're trying to get through the tight spaces, every inch counts. And there's also options like this made by Beta FPV, and they had a collaboration with Insta360, so they build the naked Insta360 on here for you, but I don't know if they're still making them. Tricky thing about the FPV world is that every couple weeks there's something new out or something gets discontinued. For example, I was digging around a little bit and saw that there was something called a Firefly by Flywoo. It looks absolutely tiny and looks pretty awesome, so I went ahead and ordered one. Carrie's gonna kill me when she finds out I bought another drone, but please don't say anything. But there are definitely downsides to going really small. One, the battery life is probably not gonna last as long. It's also not gonna be able to handle the wind nearly as much. So that is one thing I do like about the ProTech, is that it's good at flying indoors through tight spaces, but also when you're outdoors and it gets a little bit windy, you're more likely to be able to counter the wind. You can generally get an idea of difference in size. You get an extra inch of clearance on the smaller model, but that really only matters if you're trying to really fly through something really small. I mean, if you're trying to fly through a little window like this ProTech has plenty of clearance. It can get tricky because as I'm approaching the van, I feel all this wind pressing it to the side, but as soon as I get through the window, then all that wind cuts off. So I have to stop countering the wind, and as soon as I exit again, then I'm faced with more wind, so I have to go back to countering. So it can actually get pretty tricky going from somewhere that's windy into a little pocket where there's no wind and then coming back out the other side. Now, to really pick out the best FPV drone for you, you really need to know what camera you want to throw on there. So the Insta360 Go 2 has been a pretty solid, easy option. It's simple, it's convenient, you don't have to hack apart a camera to get it to work. And I think the image quality is actually pretty good. Now, the reason I I generally lean towards filming on GoPro when I can is not so much for the image quality, but it's for the stabilization. Now, if you're just using built-in image stabilization out of the camera, they're both pretty decent, but the advantage GoPro has is that it's compatible with Real Steady. So how I usually shoot is completely unstabilized 4x3, and then I take that footage, process it through Real Steady, and that's how you get the best stabilization. A lot of people in the FPV community even call it cheating because it makes your flying look so smooth. Now keep in mind that there's also a lot of options in FPV drones that I haven't even talked about. These are just the ones that I use and are my favorites, and I typically only fly digital FPV drones because I have the digital goggles and the controller, and I think that just makes the process easier. You also get a much cleaner image out of your goggles opposed to analog, which analog will give you slightly less latency, I guess, but for me, I don't even notice the difference. That's something that the pros talk about. But typically I go for the hassle-free option. That's why all these are bind-in flies, and all of the ones I've talked about are pretty straightforward to set up and fly. You just hook it up to your controller and goggles. The only one that does take a little bit extra work is the Emax Baby Hawk, where you have to basically do something called a CLI dump. So you just have to connect it to Betafly. It's an extra step. It's not that hard. From there, you just bind it to your controller and goggles and you're good to go. I am liking how FPV companies are making it easier and easier for us to get into the hobby without that much of a barrier anymore. Now, of course, the DJI FPV did a really good job making it super straightforward. You can know nothing about FPV, get into it, and start flying it that way. But the reason why I'm not talking about it in this video is that it is quite a bit bigger, but it's also a lot heavier. If you're flying that thing fast and really close to objects and you make a mistake and you smack into the side of the van or something, it's gonna cause some serious damage. So I don't really consider the DJI FPV to be a great drone for close proximity flying. It still is a great starter drone to get into the whole hobby, but yeah, don't fly it near people, ever, not that one. Do you get nervous when I fly the FPV close to your face?
I don't know, I think I've just been kind of numb through like years of knowing you, so it doesn't hit me.
That's not a good thing, is it? You've become numb by knowing me?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, if it is good, but it happened, right?
And we are also funding another project from the potato farm. If you have a great concept, let us know. Link down there in the description, and we may just fund it in one of the projects. But who are we funding today?
This is for Ben from Salt Lake City, Utah. So basically, Ben has done an interview with a child soldier from Uganda, so it's a mini documentary on that.
A child soldier from Uganda?
Yeah.
That's gonna be intense. I'd be very curious to see that. The type of documentaries that I'm really interested in is just seeing how other people live, you know what I mean? But congratulations, Ben. Dylan will be hitting you up and sending you some money so you can make this film a reality. Is that it? Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
You're gonna give me a raise, right? That's the one important thing we gotta talk about. Right?
Bye.